Panama Canal is awesome, and I was lucky enough to be able to transit through it. In school, we learned about the creation of it, but I really didn't appreciate the scope and size of the project until I was able to see it myself. Here are some quick Wikipedia facts. The French started building it in 1881, and then in 1904 the Americans took over, and it was completed in 1914. The canal is designed so the Atlantic side and the Pacific side are connected. It would have been really difficult to bulldoze their way all the way through that, so instead they created an artificial lake in the middle with a series of 3 locks on each side. When transiting, you'll go up 85 feet to get to the level of the lake, and then down another 85 feet to get back to ocean level. The locks in the canal are approximately 1,200 feet long, and when they were built were about 93 feet wide, and now they're about 160 feet. This expansion was done to allow larger ships. The largest ships that can fit through the Panama Canal are called Panamax. Each transit, up or down, uses almost 27 million gallons of water. This is fresh water because it's collected by the lake at the top. So there are some environmental concerns about taking that much fresh water and just dumping it into the ocean. But before the canal was built, the only way to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific was to go all the way south around Cape Horn. It's a lot faster and the distance is shorter, so ships don't have to pay for as much fuel or for the crew costs that it would take to do that transit. Instead, they pay a toll to go through the canal, and this is basically just like any other road toll where they use that cost to keep up with the project itself. It still does take about 12 hours, and depending on where you are in the schedule of the lineup, you might have to wait for a while. The ships who are still waiting for their turn have to anchor outside of the canal. I wanted to see the process, but I wasn't exactly sure when we were going to start going through the locks. I ended up sleeping through the first half, and by the time we got to the next locks, it was dark out. The part that I thought was the coolest were the mules. They were built by General Electric, yes, the US company. We had Panamanian crews come on board and attach cables from our ship to these electric mules. They're designed to prevent side-to-side motion in the lock so the ship doesn't damage the walls. Once we got through the canal, we were back on the Atlantic side, which is where Cologne is, and Cologne is home to the second largest duty-free zone in the entire world. This makes sense when you think about how many container ships pass through there. Because there's no tax, it can be really well worth buying certain things. Like this one guy I work with bought a MacBook. But there are some stores that only deal in bulk, so if you go in there looking for one item, they're going to try to sell you 1,000 items. I think it's well worth it to go there for the experience alone, but definitely try to stick with another person and try to stay on the main streets, because the walk from our dock to get over there was a little bit sketchy had I been alone. The canal is considered one of the 7 wonders of the modern world, and I can totally see why. If you have the opportunity to transit through it or even to see it, I would definitely recommend it, because it's not something that I'm going to forget anytime soon. We had Panamanian crews come on board and attach, what are they called? Not wires, cables,